you guys doing today? First off, my name is Grady Pierce. I'm hosting today's episode. I want to first welcome back you guys to PowerMovement Productions. You are now watching a brand new episode of Next Up on PowerMovement TV. Now, I got a question for you guys. Have you guys ever wanted to learn how to fix your credit and finances? Well, if you're anything like me, or my guest today, you might want to grab a pen and paper and take notes, because you're going to learn today. Now, today my guest is Ricky Jackson.
What up, though?
The Executive Vice President of My Econ. I said that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So first off, why don't you tell the people a little about yourself and where you're from?
Well, I'm from Detroit, Michigan, the West Side. I went to Cody High School. I graduated from there. I'm a comic. I'm still repping to the fullest.
Okay. So first, tell us a little bit about what you do.
Well, I teach financial literacy. And when I say that, people be like, oh, so you can fix my credit for me, or you can tell me this or tell me that? Yes, I can give you and provide you all of the tools that you need to fix your credit, but I can't do it for you. I can't help you change your mindset. I can't control your money for you, but what I can do is give you all the tools you need to do that your very self, to where you don't have to worry about paying a financial advisor or paying somebody to fix your credit report and not knowing what they doing, not knowing if they trying to steal your identity, or even if they paying it, or even if they're fixing it the right way like they're supposed to. Because a lot of people say they do something and they just taking your money, they robbing you blind. So what I do is I provide you with the letters you need to fix your credit report and the education you need to go about in fixing your credit report, and how to start building it, because there is a difference.
And to keep it going and stuff like that.
Yes.
Okay. Give us a breakdown. What made you get into finances and credit?
Well, it all just started, growing up in the hood, pretty much, for real. Like I said, I'm from Longacre, in between Chicago and Plymouth. And that's where it all started. Growing up in that neighborhood, we seen the hood stars. We seen the hustlers, and a lot of people around though was poor. We made it look good because that's what the hood is known for. We known for making the struggle look good, but everybody was struggling for real. And we were one of those families that were struggling in the neighborhood. We just made it look good. We
I
had
come from a family like that, so I know what you mean.
Mm-hmm. That's just what it is in the city, for real. So, and parents on Section 8 housing, bridge cards, to getting the financial help from the government and aid to help us, make it through the months, because we living day by day in the jungle and stuff like that. We not even able to plan for the future. And so me seeing those different things, seeing my people struggle, seeing them argue over money, just seeing so much tension in the house, because that dollar bill, it just had me realize, like, okay, I ain't trying to be like that when I get older. I didn't quite understand it all, but I knew I didn't want to be struggling when I got older. I knew I didn't want to have to depend on the government or slave working a whole bunch of overtime in order for me to make ends meet. And because, like I said, just seeing the tension in the house, it rubbed off on the kids, because the parents not happy. So now they not in the right state of mind for them to be able to, take care of the household like they supposed to, because they stressed out trying to figure things out. They beefing with each other. They can't quite figure it out. And so just seeing that growing up, I was like, okay, I know I'm trying to be rich. I don't know how I'm going to get rich, or I don't know how I'm going to make it happen, but I know I'm going to make it happen. And so as I got older, I started, I always figured out ways to try to get money and just hustle. Like, I had the entrepreneur spirit at a young age. My dad, he was the janitor at our school, at our elementary school, and we got into a lot of fights because of that. Because you know how kids is, they talk crazy, but he would like get certain things from the school, like candy or just stuff, and me and my little brother, we would sell it. And so
the hustle mentality early on.
It started real early. So we selling the candy or whatever we can get our hands on. We was trying to sell it to get money and stuff like that. And that's how I started learning, like, all right, if I got a product to sell, I can always get money and stuff like that. So when that was slow up, when we couldn't get no product, now it's like, okay, what's next? So now we cutting grass. So me and my brother, we would start cutting grass in the neighborhood or calling like aunties and uncles to try to cut their grass and stuff like that. So now we generating money that way.
So income.
Exactly. And it's all pros. So we stacking our money because, we using our money because we trying to get fresh, of course, or spend it on whatever it is that we liked at the time, whether it was Hot Wheel cars, stuff like that. So that's when the hustle mentality came in and just learning how to save my money. And that's actually how I learned too, how I can go broke. Because it's like, all right, I spent all my money that I was making, from cutting grass and selling candy. And then when those hustles slowed up, I didn't have no more money. So a lot of lessons I learned early on. So I'm like, okay, I can't spend all my money now. I got to start learning how to portion out how I'm spending my money and be prepared for if anything slow up.
Make money and save money at the same time.
Exactly. So taking on these same principles as I got older, I'm starting as I got older enough, I was getting little jobs here and there and stuff like that, just hustling, getting money. So I, graduating high school, never really had plans on going to college, but I talked about it, but I kind of talked about it because it was like the thing to do. But I really went to college. And when I went there, it was weird to me. It was foreign because I was the only black guy in every class. I'm just surrounded around all these white people. I'm the only black guy. And I went to Baker College, the one out in Arden Hills. So I was out of my element. Like, I never spent so much time out of the hood before. Right. Everything was different. They didn't care about clothes and shoes and being loud, like we did in the hood. So it was different. The culture out there, even the food, when we go into the cafeteria, it wasn't just
mystery meat and milk
and wingdings and fries and stuff like that. They had a salad bar. Like, I never seen a salad bar, for real. It's like, and you seeing different types of water, like, just all of these things that was foreign to me. So I'm seeing it and I'm just like, it was clean too. I never been in a clean school before. So I'm like, dang, and we got doors to cover the stall up. Like, it was just crazy to me. It was an experience.
Now, what's funny for me, when I went to college, no metal detector.
That too. I had metal detectors in middle school. Middle school, we had metal detectors in there. And in high school, of course, we had metal detectors, but it's like at an early age when you seeing all that, it's like, it's really that dangerous where you got metal detectors in the middle school. In middle school, you 12, 13 years old. Right. And then, like I said, I went to college. It wasn't no metal detectors in college. Like, so it was just a shift of the mindset. So all of these different things is playing a part because I'm very observant. So I'm seeing everything that's going on. I'm meeting different types of people, and they telling me the way they live, and just listening to them, you see what they care about, the things that they cherish. And you start reevaluating yourself, but I'm still not using those things that I'm seeing quite just yet, because I'm still stuck in my ways. Because when I leave here, I'm going right back to the hood anyway. I'm just going right back to what I know and what I'm used to. Right. So, I go through the process. I started off taking a couple classes at a time because, like I said, it wasn't nothing serious. But after so long, I see that I'm actually getting to the end and I'm about to graduate. So I think I got to like my last 10 classes or something like that. And I'm like, I'm about to start taking like more classes so I can get done quicker. I kind of got excited, but still not knowing what I was going to do with it. So and during this time too, I was getting in trouble and I was still on probation at the same time. So I'm doing all of this at the same time. And as I'm getting closer, I graduate, and then my advisor, she was like, she was a black woman, the only black advisor there as well too. And she was like, "Oh, you graduating, congratulations," and stuff like that. And I didn't have no type of excitement. I'm just looking at her like, and
like, what's next?
like what's next or whatever. And she was like, "You don't look excited or whatever." I'm like, I mean, it's cool, I guess. You know, I did it. And again, not even thinking about that I'm my dad's first kid to even get a college degree, let alone even a high school diploma. I'm the first one to have a high school diploma.
First generation college graduate.
Yeah, from my dad or whatever. So it was like, but I'm not thinking of that now. As I look at it now and look back, it's like, dang, I really did change the narrative. And so she signed me up for fall classes for a bachelor's degree, and I'm like, you wasting your time. It's no need to do that. And she like, you gonna get a bachelor's degree or whatever. And I'm like, ma'am, I ain't trying to do all that. Like, I done had enough school or whatever. And so it was a couple months before that time came. And during that time, I'm like, you know what? Like, what I do. And so I did that. And I took those, and I did the calculations on how many classes it was, and I just divided it in a certain amount of time. I'm like, oh, I could get, if I'm doing 4 or 5 classes, I can do this for a year and some change, and then I'll be done. So I'm like, I could do that in a year and up under a half or whatever. It was like a year and 4 months. I could do that. And that's what I did. So I just got busy,
and the rest of school.
I just grinded it out. And a part of that motivation too was, I'm like, I can do this for my son. Like, he can see this because I had my son, and he was there when I graduated with my associate's degree. I'm like, I can do this for him, and I'm like, I could get a job and stuff like that. I could actually have the chance to get a career, even though I got a record and stuff like that. I know it's gonna be hard, but I'm like, I'm just gonna try,
So you just always went against the grain.
Always went against the grain. So they telling me I couldn't do it, I'm gonna prove I can do it. So that's what really motivated me more than anything, because a lot of people, they be like, because even during my classes, they, in the different law classes, they'd be like, in order for you to get to this height, you can't even have no type of history of criminal activity at all. And I'm just still in there like I have. And I was always that black sheep because I always gave perspectives from the hood. They didn't understand it because they not from the hood. So they didn't quite know. Even with cybercrime, I talked about cybercrime in a lot of the classes, and they like, what you talking about? But by me being from where I'm from, I already knew like about the fraud. I already knew how people, like, even way back before it is now, like, people was recording different types of criminal activity going on. And I'm like, and I'm seeing it, especially you being from the hood, you know the stories and stuff like that. First, so you see exactly, so you know what it is. So, and I'm telling them, and they laughing like, you don't know what you're talking about. And if we fast forward to 2020, this was like in 2010. Fast forward 10 years later, all the crimes are being committed.
Every day.
Exactly, every single day. So that was just like, it was just things like that. Like, I was always ahead of my time, but not really knowing where I was going with it. But I just always had it was just something special about me. And I didn't even realize it in me at the moment and stuff. Because I mean, nobody ever told me. And then me just being used to what I was used to, it was like, this is what it's gonna be. But I knew I was gonna get paid some way, somehow. Like, that was always in my mind. I just didn't know how. But so I completed the classes, graduated, and I waited 6 months before I started to even apply for a job and stuff like that, because I was scared and I wasn't thinking about a job. Like, I was just doing my thing. So I'm like, you know what? I'm about to switch it on up. I'm about to just do everything positive.
Right.
Everything, like everything from here on out. And that's what I started doing. It was like 2014. I'm like, I'm gonna just start doing everything positive. Like, from just my lifestyle, just the way I think, just everything. Because I got away from, I'm going to do the opposite of what everybody was doing. And I was doing what everybody was doing, drinking, just being in the streets, partying, doing things I ain't had no business doing. So I'm like, let me go back to what I said I was going to do. Right. And that's when my life started to change.
So what was your first step towards that?
My mindset.
Okay.
That was my mindset, and actually telling myself, like, Rick, you need to switch it up. Like, you need to start doing better. But I didn't just cut everything loose. I started doing one thing at a time because I seen that, like, it was easier to do for me, like, to just start. So I started with, all right, I'm not going to party as much. And then it escalated into, all right, I'm not going to be dealing with multiple women. Mm-hmm. And then it grew into, all right, I'm not going to drink no more. Like, and I still haven't had a drink to this day.
So basically first step was cutting your vices.
Exactly.
Right.
Because those were a lot of the things that was holding me back from me being the best me. All of those things were holding me back. And because it was a lifestyle thing for me, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like if you do one bad thing, you got to do all the bad things because they all go hand in hand with one another. For me, at least, it all went hand in hand. It's like I'm not the type of person that can just have one drink and go home. If I get to having drinks, then I need a flock of women around me, and who knows where things is going to go. Exactly. Who knows where it's going to go? And all of those things is what kept me from not being focused on the dreams and being focused on the goals and what I was trying to reach. So once I did that, I just kept pushing applications, and I was getting denied because of my criminal background. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't have no felonies or anything, but I have high misdemeanors. Mm-hmm. And like, they
still look at those things.
Exactly. They look at it like, well, how can you work for the law and you broke the law? Mm-hmm. And what I did was I used it to my advantage. And so when I go into interviews, I'm telling them, like, because I broke the law, I'm able, and I done changed my life around, I'm able to teach them and relate to them that I done went through the same things that you went through, and now you can change your life around as well. And just because you got a felony or high misdemeanors or, had a record, or even because of where you come from, a lot of times we be like, man, this where I come from, this who I am, and this all I'm going to ever be. That's not the truth. You can change all of that around, and you can use it all to your advantage to help somebody else and to educate others on how to go about and just having lifestyle changes, right, or even reaching their dreams. Because a lot of times we get
complacent.
And we comfortable with what it is at this moment, when it's really more in store for you. Mm-hmm. It's really a lot more that you could have and be doing right now if you just stepped outside of your little box and tried something new.
Yeah, you got to get a little bit uncomfortable.
Exactly.
To get comfortable again.
Absolutely. And that's what I did with myself. Everything that scared me, I started to do it. So me filling out applications, I said, I'm going to do it. Even if I'm scared, I'm going to do it. Mm-hmm. And I was getting denied. And after, I don't know how many applications, but I finally got a job. And this job wasn't just any job. It was a job that paid decent money. It was a job where I got beautiful benefits, mm-hmm, for me and my whole family. It was a job where, salary paid. It was a job that, like, I never even knew what, like, vacation time and stuff like that was. I never knew.
It was almost like a different tax bracket type of job.
It was exactly. And it taught me things that I didn't even know that people was living. I hadn't even, prior to that job, I hadn't been to the dentist in 10 years. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm like, I can go to the dentist now? I didn't even know the process to go to the dentist. You get what I'm saying? Like, I had to, like, ask people to figure all of this out, or a 401k. Like, I didn't know what that was. I heard about it, but I didn't know how you set it up and stuff like that. So this job taught me all of those things. I had prior jobs too, but it wasn't like this though. Like, this is a career job and stuff. So after working and stuff like that, I'm like, man, I'm living in an apartment. And when I first lived in the apartment, I was paying like $585 or something like that. And a few years later, because I was living there for like 6 years or something like that, like I'm at like almost $800. So I'm like, how they keep going up on the rent on me like this? Like, and you don't got no choice but to pay it or whatever, because that's where you stay. So I'm like, no, I ain't feeling this. I'm like, I need to buy a house or whatever. But again, I didn't know the process of doing it. I just said I'm gonna do it, and I figured it out along the way.
Okay.
So I got my job. The rent going up, you know, I'm still paying it, but I'm like, man, I'm about to buy a house. I'm like, in the next year, I'm gonna buy a house. So during that time, I done filed my taxes or whatever, and I end up owing. So I'm like, how am I owing the IRS and stuff like that? Again, I wasn't taught nothing about if you make this amount of money, you got to pay this in taxes and stuff like that or whatever. And because I'm like, how do I owe you when you taking money out of my check? But we don't know. We don't know. Okay, Uncle Sam need his cut each and every way. We have ain't nobody talking to us about that. And our parents, they got jobs, but they may not have worked for a complete year. You know, that might have been on and off,
right.
Or they not making enough money to even see those type of to come into those type of barriers and stuff like that. Because they're not generating that type of income. Exactly. So they don't even understand it or whatever. So you can't even talk to them. So that happened. And I'm talking to the tax preparer. And she like, well, you know, you made this amount of money and stuff like that. And so so I'm like, okay. So during that time, still, I'm like, you know, I'm like, this money is cool, but I'm like, it ain't enough for me. You know, like I ain't trying to, and the job is good. But I'm like, I'm not trying to work for nobody forever. So I started positioning myself to become a boss. So I'm like, I'm about to start a tow truck business. And we going through the process, and me and my business partner, he backed out on me the day we were supposed to buy the tow truck. So, and I had put money down on it and everything. So I'm getting into it with the guy because he like, I'm not giving you your money back and this and that. Like, it was just crazy. And my partner, he backed out on me. So I was like depressed. And I'm like, man, like, all right, I'm still gonna be a boss. I'm just gonna do it by myself then. So I'm like, well, what else can I do? I'm like, well, I'm getting into real estate, so I need to learn that. I mean, I want to buy a house, so I need to learn like what's the things I need to do and to, you know, and to go about even buying a house. Because again, I don't know nobody that's done it before, or I've never talked to anybody that's done it. So then I started self-educating. I see, you know, I'm hearing the flipping house commercials on the radio and seeing it on TV and seeing the TV show. I'm like, I'm about to go to these seminars.
So just wanted a better life. You had to learn about finances.
I had to, because again, all my life, and in order for me to understand it, I had to get some education on it. I went through 4.5 years of college, and not one time did we talk about finances. You know, I know people with master's degree in business, and they don't know what I know about finances, and I didn't go to school for it. They don't teach you how to be bosses or how to leverage. All they teach you how to do is to work, how to work for the bosses, and that just never made sense to me.
How to manage their money and not make your own.
Exactly. So I started going to all of these seminars, and in the seminars, they talked about flipping houses, but the main thing they always talked about was not paying taxes or limiting the amount of taxes that you pay. So of course that stuck out to me. I say, oh, I really got to get into this because, like I said earlier, I end up owing the IRS. So I'm like, oh, I got to figure out where I ain't got to pay them no money and stuff like that. Exactly. So it's making so much sense to me. And I'm like, these people on TV and they giving us this $1 million game. And I'm just looking at all the people in the room. Like, it was thousands of people in this room, and we paying, like, I think it was like $500-600. It was like $400 or $500 for these weekend conventions and stuff like that. And I was addicted to them because they was just teaching us so much. So and at the end, they like, you know, if you want to join our team, you can, but you have to pay. And it was anywhere from $30,000 to $60,000 to join a team. I'm like, I ain't about to give you that or whatever. I'm like, I can invest that into myself.
Right.
I'm going to go buy some houses with that or whatever. So all of the information that they were teaching, I took my notes and then I still took it further and did my own research.
Like, what are some things you had to learn that most people that they need to know, but you learned that firsthand? Like, just get into the terminology.
As far as buying a house?
Buying a house and some of the finances you have to know.
Well, number one thing, you need credit. Good credit.
Good credit.
You need good credit in order to, if you want to finance your home, you need good credit. Because if not, you're going to get hit with higher interest rates than people with good credit. If you got poor credit, they going to be charging you 10 and 11%, on your loan for the home, versus if you had good credit, now you're only paying 3%. You're only paying 3.5%. And the interest is where all businesses make money. Credit cards, if you financing a car, if you financing a home, that's how they make their money. So what you want to do is you want to build your credit so that you're not being hit with these higher interest rates.
What are some steps you had to take, and like other people that can take to build their credit?
Fortunately, I never had bad credit. I always was responsible paying my bills on time because me growing up the way I grew up, I said I'm not going to be that way. So some of the things that I tell you this though, I actually did, like, I had a decent credit score. It was like a 704 or something like that. And I always paid for everything cash. So I didn't really have, like, I had credit cards, but that was it. So what I did was to boost my credit up, I had took out a loan from the bank. And what I did was I took the loan out from the bank and then I put it back into the bank, and then I set up a payment plan every month to automatically pay that payment. And it was like over a course of like 3 years or something like that. So I didn't touch the money. And you have to be very disciplined. Like, I'm not telling people to go out and do this. This is just what I did because I wanted to boost my credit up more. And like I said, I didn't have anything to do. So I'm like, this is a strategy that people use. You could take get a loan from the bank, go to your bank, preferably a credit union, because you get lower interest rates and it's easier for you to get money versus regular banks and stuff like that. So my credit union, I went there and I got a $5,000 loan. I put the money right back into my account and set up the payment plans. And from doing that, and over that course of time, because a lot of people don't know that credit is, part of it is a history of on-time payments. So that's what, when they pull your credit report, that's what they want to see.
How late you are.
They want to see if you're responsible on making your payments on time. That's one of the things. That's not everything. That's just one. And so, and that's what I needed. I needed a long history. I never had that. Like, cause my credit.
So you gotta establish history. Like, that's
you have to have exactly, because that's how you have that strong credit report. A lot of people want to use trade lines and stuff like that. I mean, that's cool, but it depends on how far that trade line has a history of the credit report that's reporting to their credit bureaus and stuff like that. So you have to have a history. The longer the history, the stronger your credit report is. Okay. So I'm building my credit. I did that. I'm building my credit, and so that pushed me up to, it was like a 7, like in between 750, 760 or whatever. So by the time it was time for me, I finally, and it took me like 11 months to find the house that I was looking for or whatever. So during that time, my credit is good. And also during the closing time, you're not allowed to spend no money at all. So you really have to make sure your finances are in place, because they freezing your accounts. If they want to see that you're able to maintain your finances and not touch the money that you have in your bank account, during that closing cost, because any little thing could trigger it for them to be like, you know what, we're not gonna do it. You also gotta take classes. I had to take a class, like, just on finances, just on budgeting and stuff like that. So that's just to name a few of the steps you gotta go through while purchasing a home if you're financing. Now, if you buying a home cash, it's totally different, but I was financing my home. So those were the steps that I had to take in order to do that. And like I said, I needed good credit. And so during that time as well is when my man's, he introduced me to the business, my econ. And my econ was everything that I needed.
Right.
It taught me how to lower my taxable income, because a lot of people don't know, when you own a business, your whole lifestyle now becomes tax deductible. When you have a home-based business, everything you do. So if
like the LLCs and all that.
Yes, everything you do now becomes tax deductible. So everything that you do on a daily basis and spend money on is now a business write-off, because you're a business now. So the government respects the bosses. The government don't respect the workers. That's like my little saying or whatever, because bosses get all of the tax breaks, workers get little to none. It's only a few you get, you know, if you got kids, you know, certain things like that or whatever. But bosses, you get over 400 plus tax deductions when you have a home-based business. So, well, what is that? What are tax deductions? Do you drive?
Right, yeah.
So that car note, any maintenance on the car, those miles you drive every single day are now tax deductible. Last year, I think it was like 53 cents you got per mile that you drove last year. Depending on how much driving you do, that could be anywhere from, like, for example, me personally, that was like a $8,000 tax deduction for me. You gotta drive from point A to point B. You doing interviews, and that's a tax deductible. The maintenance on that car, insurance, all of that is tax deductible. You have a home and you're doing business in that home, those bills are now tax deductible. The utilities, internet, the furniture you buy for your clients to wait on, or if you're using that furniture for your business, it's all tax deductible. So when you keep track of all of these expenses, which also we provide that as well, it's a software called the Cash Flow Manager. In this software, you keep track of all your business expenses. So at the end of the year, when it's time for you to pay to file your taxes, you print everything off and you just give it to a tax preparer and they know what to do. It's a way to keep everything organized so that you don't have a box full of receipts and stuff like that, and receipts fade. So you take a picture of the receipt and it automatically stores in the software. So you print it out and you provide it to them, and then that's when you're now able to claim all of that money that you spent throughout the year on your business that you was gonna spend money on anyway.
Right.
And so that's what some of the tax deductions are. It's hundreds of them out there, but that's just the name of a few. For the people that's wondering, like, well, what's tax deductions or what's tax deductible? Even a cell phone. You talking business on that, or you doing research? The cell phone has now become tax deductible for you. So now the government pays the bill. So that's how it works. A lot of people, I ain't even gonna speak on him. I just say something like GM. They make billions of dollars, millions of dollars, and they pay no taxes because of all of the tax deductions, and stuff like that. So my question is, you only making $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year. Why is anywhere from 20 to 30% of your income going to taxes? But you got people that's making M's and B's and they pay no taxes at all.
So that's why the double section of taxes is always important.
Exactly. So my econ, it showed me that. It showed me how to now make my lifestyle tax deductible.
Stop it, baby. What part did it get? So that was very insightful. I'm telling y'all, y'all better have y'all pen and paper ready for this episode. I got a next question for you. So, what are some common mistakes people make when building their credit?
Some of the common mistakes people make, just not being disciplined with their money all around. That's the biggest mistake. People get these credit cards with these $2,000 and $3,000 limits on there. In their mind, like, I done spoke to people and they thought it was free money. And it's like, no, you have to pay this money back. So, and so you use the credit card, but you have to use it strategically. And a lot of people don't know that. You don't want to go over 30%. the utilization of that credit card. So, for example, if you got a $1,000 credit card, you don't want to spend no more than $300 on it. Mm-hmm. And what you want to do is you want to make payments on it. I say make a little bit more than the minimum payment, so that, you know, they don't make too much money off of you from interest, but you want to make payments because, like I said earlier, you want to build that history. So you never want to go over a third of the credit card, mm-hmm. because now what that shows is reporting to them that you're struggling and you really need it. Mm-hmm. And that's not what you want to show them, because now it's going to make it harder for you to get credit increases, which will help you in the future. It's going to.
That's how you get credit increases. Exactly.
Okay. You have to use the credit card strategically. Uh-huh. So after they see that you can use it the proper way, you might not even have to call. They'll just raise the limit on it automatically. Mm-hmm. So that's one mistake people use. Another mistake, not having a budget. You have to have a budget in place for your finances in order for you to reach the goals of being financially free. Mm-hmm. If you say, I'm only going to spend $300 a month on groceries, that's what you need to spend. If you only paying $30 for your haircut, that's all you need to pay. If something happens to where you need to spend more money, mm-hmm. you really don't want to use the credit card for that. You want to have an emergency fund, and that's another thing we teach. So it's more than just the credit repair we teach. It's steps that we teach for you to be financially free.
Yeah, PowerMovement literacy is a whole different ballgame with learning everything.
Exactly.
Just like you learn English literacy, math literacy, it's all about, you need to learn all aspects of it. First you said like establishing history, mm-hmm. expenses, mm-hmm. and now what you said?
Budgeting,
yeah. Mm-hmm. So establish history, mm-hmm. Establish history. Mm-hmm.
Keeping track of your expenses from the tax deductions.
Yeah. Expenses and budget.
Yeah. Right. And budget is very, very important, because a lot of times we always overspend. A lot of the time. Yeah. A lot of people's mindset is, all right, I'm going to spend this, but I know I'm going to make it back. Depending on your lifestyle, some people's lifestyle, I'm going to make it back by the end of the night, or I'm going to make it back by tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And then, the 9 to 5 people, I'm going to make it back next pay period, or I'm going to work this overtime. But what we don't think about is that next day is not promised, or that next hour is not promised. Mm-hmm. Anything can happen to you. As you can see right now, we living in a time where it ain't all the way shut down, but a lot of things are shut down, and right. A lot of people are financially stressed right now. Yeah. Because they don't have.
I get about 80%.
Yes, they're financially stressed right now. Mm-hmm. Like, especially people that has a high overhead, and that's celebrities and stuff like that, or wealthy people. Because a lot of times, like, we look up to those people, but they financing everything. A lot of the things that they're doing or whatever, and they still have to pay those bills.
Now they have no income.
Now they don't have the income to pay all of that overhead, so now they're financially distressed. And those are some of the things that we teach people to not end up in those situations. And not to be funny, that's when they start opening OnlyFans accounts. Exactly. There you go.
To replace that income.
To try to replace that income. They trying to do any and everything because they like, I gotta make it, because they overhead $10,000 a month and stuff like that, or $30,000 or $40,000 a month. And so what we do is we put these principles in place for you to follow. So just in case anything happened, you have a 3 to 6 month emergency fund put up. Mm-hmm. So if you do have fall into any hardships, mm-hmm. and it could be health issues, you might not be able to work. If you don't work, you don't eat. Mm-hmm. But if you have an emergency fund put up, you got at least 3 to 6 months of cash that you can pay your bills, your monthly bills or whatever. And so that goes into cash flow. You want to have a passive income. Mm-hmm. A passive income is where you're making money in your sleep. And that's what real wealth is. You go to sleep, but you still making money.
Still income coming in.
It's still money coming in every single month. And that's where you want to build your way up to, because now you financially free. So you done learn how to lower your taxes. You keeping track of all your expenses. You got a higher credit score, so if you need to borrow money, you're not getting hit with interest. We got an emergency fund put up, and now we done position ourselves we eliminating debt as well. We don't want debt. We don't want consumer debt. We don't want that, because consumer debt equals monthly payments. You don't want to keep having all of these reoccurring monthly payments if you can help it. Because again, if something like this happens, you have a bill that you still have to figure out how you gonna pay.
Right.
You don't want that. So we teach you how to eliminate your debt. We have a program to where you put in your debts from biggest to smallest, and then it arranges it. I mean, you put the debts in, and then the system arranges it to where the biggest to smallest, and which you should start paying off first to cut down interest and for you to save on money. Because that money, when you get in business with us, you learn how to adjust your W-2. Because again, like I said, you get more tax deductions. So you can implement that in your W-2, and now you're receiving more money in your paycheck. So that extra money you're receiving, you start throwing that towards the debt. Okay. Once you throw that towards the debt, we call it the snowball effect. So you eliminating that debt. You let's say you got a car note or credit card bill. You eliminate that credit card bill. That money you was paying on the credit card bill that you already had to pay, plus them extras, you start now putting it on the car note, and now you paying it off less than that 5 or 6 years or whatever that plan was. And now you got all that extra cash flow coming in that you were spending on interest. Because a lot of times people don't know that those payments is the monthly payments you make. Most of it goes to interest. It don't go to the principal balance. And the principal balance is the actual amount of whatever it is you purchase. You follow me? Okay, it's the actual amount of whatever it is. And so what the companies do is they pay the interest first, and then the difference they put it on the principal. Okay. You want most of your payments going towards the principal, because now you're paying less in interest, and you'll be paying the whatever it is that you purchase, you finance off faster. So now we got all this different cash flow coming in. You got your emergency fund. After you got your emergency fund, 3 to 6 months, just in case anything happens, now we can start investing. So it's all a process that we go through and the steps that we put into place.
It's a lot of building and learning.
Exactly.
Before you get to that point.
And being disciplined. You got to have a mindset. A lot of people are like, oh, I want to learn how to do it. Okay, well, don't think this going to be like I'm doing it all for you.
You got to change your whole mindset.
You got to change your whole mindset, and you got to be you have to want it. In order for you to achieve these goals, you have to want it. It's not just going to fall in your lap. You're not just going to wake up and be debt free and be a millionaire. That's not the way it works. If you're trying to build longevity wealth, because a lot of people get money, but they don't know how to manage it, and they broke.
Not at all.
A lot of people are rich right now, but they still living check to check. The 9 to 5 people, they're working check to check. 76% of them don't even have $1,000 in their accounts right now. Right. Celebrities, they still working check to check too. A lot of them hurting right now. They check just bigger than ours. That's all it is. There's no difference. They still struggling.
Their public appearances and all that.
Exactly.
All the expenses that would have been towards that.
Exactly.
I had to figure something out.
And a lot of times they counted on that money, right? Like, oh yeah, I got this amount of shows, so I can go buy this or buy that. That's another mistake. People count their money before they get it, and so they spend as if they gonna get the money, but they haven't received it yet. And that's another thing what keeps them in that rat wheel and in debt constantly. So don't just because you got it don't mean spend it. You got to learn how to be disciplined and be like, you know what? I'm not gonna get that pair of Jordans this month, or that pair of Yeezys this month. I'm gonna just wait it on out or whatever, because you want to put yourself in a position of security. So those are some of the mistakes that people make when they're trying to build their credit, because they get these credit card limits and they just not disciplined on how to use it, and they're not educated on how to use it. So we teach all of the education that you need on how to build it, how to repair it, and how to strategically use it to where it works in your favor.
So the resources, tools, and providing information on how to keep it off.
Yes.
Yeah. That's all information that everyone needs. So I got a question for you. I've been to a few finance workshops, and one thing they always lean on is, owning a home. Like not flipping it, but really just owning a home. And it's like, what ways learn credit repair and finances, how does that tie into owning a home?
Like I stated before, you want to, are you talking about financing it or cashing it?
Either way, like,
Okay,
in the workshop, they never talk about paying cash. They was talking about financing.
Okay, so well, in financing, like you most definitely want the interest rates, and the higher your credit score is, they might not require you to put down as much money up front. So that's one of the ways where credit really help you when financing a home. And a lot of people too, they be like, oh, I don't want to own a home and stuff like that. I don't want to be tied into a 30-year mortgage. I'd rather rent. But what you don't understand is, if you renting, that's cool, but you don't get the same tax, the tax breaks that you would get if you own that home and stuff like that. Because when you own a home, there's certain things you can write off versus renting. So
that's all I was there. Okay. Well, I thank you for all the info that you provided with us. Like I said, I hope all y'all had your pen and paper, because I definitely gonna watch this episode a couple of times just to peep everything. But once again, provide us with your website link, all the tools that you provide for people and things that you do, and any social media handles that people can also contact you on to just learn everything that you did, taught us so far.
Okay. My Facebook is Ricky J. Jackson, and you spell my name Rickie. My Instagram is businessman_Ricky J. My website, because you can go on there and just check it out and see the different products that's also sold on there, is rickyjackson.myecon.net. And we just all about just building generational wealth. You know, we want to change the whole narrative of we can't own. We want to change the whole narrative of other people of other ethnicities is coming in our communities and buying it up. We have to start owning. We have to start owning these homes in our neighborhoods. We claiming these hoods, but we don't own nothing in it. It don't make sense. So now, and I was one of those people too. So I'm not speaking down on nobody. I claimed the hood and I didn't own nothing in it. Now I'm only claiming hoods where I own the land in it. I own the home 100%. No, the rental properties 100% paid for cash. But again, I was able to do that because I put a plan in place for my finances. I learned how to cut unnecessary expenses, which, you know, we all have. We feel like we got to cop every shoe that come out. I said, you know what, Rick? I ain't copping those shoes. You know what, Rick? I ain't going to the club no more. You know what, Rick? I'm not drinking no more, because all of those things, we spend a lot of money on it. It's a lifestyle, like I said before. Because if you going out every night, you need a new fit, right? So it's like, all right, I'm buying a new outfit. Then you go out with your people. Y'all like, man, we need a bottle of this and a bottle of that. So you spending all this unnecessary money stimulating somebody else's economy when you need to be focused on stimulating your own economy, especially if you got kids and a family at home. Your main focus should be stimulating your economy for you and your kids, so that if something happened to you today, your kids have assets that's generating income to where now you may not be there, but your spouse not worried about how I'm gonna keep the lights on at the end of the day, or how I'm gonna feed the kids, because your income was counted on. But if you put something in place to where you still got a cash flow coming in, even if you're not there no more, you still got money coming in to make sure the bills is paid on time, and they ain't having a fish fry to bury you at the end of the day. So, finances is very important, and we just got to be disciplined. We got to start surrounding ourselves around people that wants to do better and be better in life. You want to start surrounding yourself around people that's going to teach you more, and not just continuously, take or leech. So it's all about who you surrounding yourself around, and the things that you put in your mind, and the things that you listening to on a daily basis. So it takes a lot of work, but it's well worth it at the end of the day. Once you get disciplined and you write down step for step what you're going to do and how you can go about and doing it, and just educate yourself, and always invest in yourself as well.
All right, and don't start an OnlyFans, start an OnlyFans. Thank you guys for tuning in. Like I said, thank you for my guest, Ricky Jackson, today.
I appreciate the opportunity.
Watch us in the next up interview and subscribe to PowerMovement Productions. Like and share the video. Watch about 5 times a day. You're going to need this info. Again, thank you once again.
Thank you.
See you guys next time.